that was the night that right after they left, I went to my mom and I was like, you got to take me to the psych ward. Like, I got to go to the hospital because I don't want to live. I just don't want to live. And again, what happened with my uncle, I'm still not going to do that. But like,
the thoughts are there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, the more prominent than ever. And this was the lowest low. This was the rock bottom that I didn't know existed. But it did. And so my mom drives me to the hospital in New York, and I go in. As I'm being like taken in, like through intake, they diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder and kicked me out the other door. I'm like, I can't win. I can't win. I have to call my mom up. She's got to turn around, come back to New York, get me. We go back to New Jersey. But that was the night that when I got home, I just Googled whatever the top 10 mountains in the U.S. were. I applied to every single one of them, not realizing, that having a college degree, I would get every job that I got. And I just planned to leave that fall, October 30th of 2018. I moved out here, and it was the best decision I could have ever made for myself, because when I first moved here, like, I didn't really move here to live. I was like, I thought my life was over, and I was like, if I'm actually gonna die, like if this is, going south, I'm gonna do it in a beautiful place. Not that New Jersey isn't beautiful, but I'd spent my entire life on the East Coast and I was just done. I mean, New York had been telling me to get out of there for long enough already. And I'd never even been to Colorado. So like, I literally landed in Denver, took a shuttle straight up to Breckenridge, had never been to altitude. I'm like, why is it so hard to breathe? But I get here and it's just dumping snow. And like, and then I have the first night where I no longer had the nightmares, and progressively, like, in the beginning, I had no drive, I had no motivation, I had nothing. I had really lost everything. But it's very difficult to find good employees here. So when I did good work, I was appreciated for it. It didn't really have anything to do with the politics. And so I was given the opportunity to like work up and progressively just kind of get everything back. And by some sheer miracle, I did, and continued on. And now I like to say my bank account doesn't necessarily agree, but mentally I'm even better than I was, at my best when I first lost my company in New York. And I love my life here. And I've got this amazing dog somewhere who I'm very surprised she hasn't bothered me. But it's just, I never thought that this is where I would end up. And it saved my life. And like, that's my whole point about, life is going to throw you curveballs. If you just take them and run with it, you can always find opportunity in things. You can always turn a negative into a positive. It's just about how you choose to look at it and how you choose to act on it. And I didn't even know Breckenridge existed before I moved here, but it's been incredible. And like, I'm just so grateful for everyone and everything. And I really don't have any, as much as those were terrible things that I went through in my life, I don't really hold anything against anybody. I think when you do that, it takes up a lot of space, and you're only doing yourself a disservice. And the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, everybody's human, everybody's flawed. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and who am I to judge someone that just happened to make a mistake against me? All I know is that I have hope and I feel possibility for the future. And, I started my podcast last year, and I went to a programming boot camp, and I, learned how to code, and I've been building a rideshare app, and hopefully I'll get that out at some point. But, who knew that I would just that I would get all of this back, and it's just a testament to not giving up.
Hey, Michael, welcome to Unlocked from Within.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's a bit of a different type of podcast where you're the first customer of the NFPD Snow Brand coming on the show.
Oh man, I remember when I remember the first time that I saw NFPD, and it was at I think it was it was either the first or second year that I was here, and you had a booth at
Copper Mountain.
Yes, thank you.
The Jew Tour. That was 2020 as COVID was hitting and people weren't sure what is going on.
It's crazy. Like I remember looking at the booth, and I'm obsessed with hoodies. Like anybody that knows me, I go to Target and I buy the ridiculous sweatsuits, and I will wear them out, the matching ones, because I live in a ski town, so this is the place to do ridiculous things. Like it feels weird to go to a 5-star restaurant not wearing a hat. And coming from New York, and I've definitely gotten yelled at Denver for doing that. But yeah, me and my ADHD will take us down some fun roads here. What was I even talking about?
Yeah, the first time you came across NFPD Snow Brand, it was G Tour. Yeah, pop up booth.
When I finally had enough money. Okay, so I started driving the year that COVID hit, and obviously I had to stop. And so when I finally had enough money to get one, I did. And you put a handwritten thank you note in there, and that just, there was something about that. Like I feel like we've lost the handwritten note. You know what I mean? Like as a society. And that personalization really hit me in a major, major way. And I had a feeling, like I'm pretty good when it comes to those gut feelings. And I remember during COVID, I don't think you actually like openly said that you guys were struggling as a brand, but for whatever reason, I knew that you were. And I think I bought like 3 sweatshirts during that time. I love them, but like also because I'm going to support anything, that makes a difference to me. And then where we have gotten to, it's a testament to being here. It's a testament to snowboarding. It's a testament to the insanity, like me coming here, having lost so much and gaining it all back and then some. And it's what I love about this place, like it just snowboarding and the mountains and the community that it brings together is just, it's a very hard thing to explain to people that don't know what it is. And coming from a place like New York City, where you think you have things in common with other people by living in like a metropolitan area like that, and then you come to a place like this and you're like, holy shit, like it's so different. It's so different.
It is a bit of a funny story, that G Tour. Where it's I don't know if I've actually shared this with you. I don't even think I've shared it on the podcast actually.
No, yeah.
So this will be pretty funny, where one of my other customers from Breckenridge, Colorado rings me up drunk like I don't know what time it would have been in Colorado, but it was 2 o'clock my time in the afternoon. And they're like, oh, your gear's awesome and stuff. Love your stuff. You really should do the Jew tour. And I was like, we haven't been anywhere outside of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia at that point. And I thought they were just being drunk. And they were like, they're like, we'll help you out. You can come stay with us. We'll get volunteers and everything. And I was like, oh, cool. Really appreciate it. I said, look, here's the deal. If you guys contact the project managers of the Jew tour, find out the information and stuff like that, I'll look into it. Thinking they'll forget after a few days. And then the email comes through 3-4 days later, price list, everything. And I'm like, oh shit, I've got to investigate this. The Jew tour then basically says, I can't remember at the time, I think it was $7,500 US to do the 4-day event, pop-up event in the snow at Copper Mountain in Colorado. And I was like, I didn't have the cash at the time. And for some reason, I just asked them the question of hey, look, I'm coming from Australia. I've got to get flights. I've got to pretty much send all this stock to the US. Majority of your businesses that will be at the pop-up store are already in the US. Can we set up some kind of payment plan? And they're like, oh, good question. No one's ever asked that. And they didn't get back to me with the approval until January, the 2nd of January, 2020. So this started rolling around end of October, this time last year, type of thing, back in 2019, sorry. And so they gave the approval January 2nd, and then the event was on, from memory, February 3rd, 2020. So I had that 4 weeks or just under 4 weeks to just get everything together, booked flights, tickets, and then it was a bit of a leap of faith with the shout out to Justin and Missy Moore. I don't know if you've ever run into them.
I know, maybe by face.
Maybe they were at the booth. Yeah. And anyway, so they're like, yeah, come stay with us, and then we'll go up. And I'm just geez, I hope that they don't stand me up. You know what I mean? This is a big commitment, rocking up to someone you don't know. A part of me is like, are they going to murder me? And then we'd have that running joke. And it was they gave me their address at that time. They were living in Denver. Gave me the address. I got an Uber to their address. It's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm knocking on the door with all my stuff. In the meantime, I've been sending all our stock to their house. So I'm kind of oh my God, I hope they don't just take all my stuff and just do a ditch and run. Right? It's a lot of trust and a lot of faith. And I opened the door and they're half asleep. I think it was a Sunday, and they're like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, we'll see you in the morning. And I'm just like, okay, this is interesting. And then it was just a running joke throughout the whole period of when are you going to kill me and all this stuff. But that was so amazing. And I think the thing that I loved about Colorado, that was my first time, just the people. All wanting to go out of their way to help, and they were so kind. And it was just, it was really nice to see.
It was very weird for me when I first moved here. I still get yelled at for not making eye contact with people.
Yeah, right.
Coming from New York, we were talking about this. You don't look at people in the eye. It's just not a good idea. But yeah, here it's you go to a bar, and if you don't have any money, somebody will buy you a beer, and they're not going to expect anything in return. And that was, it's a cultural thing that I had never experienced. And it's very unique to mountain culture. I always say people just know when you've either worked for the mountain or you live in a ski town. I went down to, I actually got catfished down to Durango, which is about 5 hours away from here. I was going through a breakup. Okay. So that's my excuse. But I literally called up one of my friends when I realized that was happening. And he goes, Michael, I'm pretty sure you're still going to have a good time. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So I booked myself a hotel room. I've always wanted to ski Purgatory, or maybe I was on my snowboard. I can't really remember. And at the end of the day, they have what's called like the beach, very similar to A Basin, just like this area at the bottom where everybody hangs out, drinks, eats food, basically like a ski tailgate. And I finally find an empty chair, and I'm like, do you guys mind if I take this? And they're like, yeah, but you have to sit with us. And I was like, all right, cool. So, I'm there by myself. And by 3:00 in the morning, I was like the guest of honor at a college party. And I'm like, what, like 36, 37 years old at the time. And, there are people coming up to me being like, wait, how old are you? And I'm like, I look, I'm just as confused as you are. But yeah, they all worked for the mountain, and they just immediately, it's like, oh yeah, I live in Breck. And like, that was it. That's all it took. And it's just really, really beautiful in that sense. But yes, like what you're saying about these people, that
community. Yeah, like it's just
and they came through. Like where else is that going to happen?
I reckon, like when I share that story with other business owners and my clients, like I say, look, I probably don't recommend doing that, because that's but I had to go on my gut. I went with my gut with it, and yeah, the community of Colorado, I don't know if it's just certain pockets of Colorado that community feel where everyone wants to help out and want to know. And it's just, it's amazing. Like over that 4 days, like it was one of the worst snow blizzards. There was like 6 or 7 other volunteers that were meant to join us for the pop-up booth, but couldn't because the highways were blocked off from the snow blizzard. So it was basically just me and Justin and Missy, and they were amazing just to see them in action. But, they were big 4-day long days. And I think 2 days in, like some of the customers could see we were getting smashed. Like everyone's coming up, we're selling, everyone's like loving the brand. And like, they just jumped in the back of the booth and started, where do you need a hand? What do you need? Like, and I'm just like, blown away. So it was such an awesome experience. Like we were coming from Australia, like, we talked about imposter syndrome off camera. And like I was like, oh, I just want to be able to blend in and be professional, because there's all the big brands at this Dew Tour, like you got Oakley, Smith, and whoever else. And yeah, it was nice to hear. I think on the 3rd day, the Dew Tour team came up to us and said, oh, you're actually like one of the best performing pop-up booths here. And I was like, wow, we just wanted to blend in, like, and
I remember it. You stuck out. Like there's something about the booth, and obviously like I love the hoodies, the design, all of that stuff. I was like, those are good. They're just good.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah. So, and like I said, hats off to Justin and Missy, like just to see them in action and how they do sales. The first day we got there, they were just networking and talking to people, saying, like, whether it was the barman behind the bar saying, would you wear one of our NFPD hats or beanies for the whole event, and just point people to the booth. And like some of them did that. And then like even like some of the Dew Tour team, like wherever they were guiding them, they were saying like, would you wear? And it was just, they just got it around the whole event, and that made a huge difference. So again, it's that, everyone coming together, that community.
I didn't have a dissimilar experience when I moved here, because I didn't know anybody here. It was very much a radical change. I had been trying for a very long time. I essentially, when I was a kid, I was an actor, so I got into the entertainment industry at a very, very young age. I think like 8, 9 years old. By 11, I had done my first had won a Best Actor award. Life happened very quickly. And, fortunately had my whole drug phase very early on. So I don't even think it really didn't even bleed over into my adult life, which is nice because then we can just leave it there. But professionally, I started, I shot a friend's, he had written a script for a TV show, and my dad, being the diligent businessman that he is, had put away all my acting money in a certificate of deposit, which finally came due. And of course, he wanted me to just put it back in the bank. And I was like, well, have some other ideas. And so I bought the equipment, produced the show, and it didn't go anywhere, but I realized that I loved producing. And so I went, just head first into it. And I built this production company from essentially from nothing. And, I know we sort of touched on this when we were talking before, but nobody prepares you for the curveballs that life throws you, and like, maybe it would have made it a little bit easier if someone had said to me, hey, you know what, like, your plans probably aren't going to work out, but that's okay, because that's life. Like, if it doesn't work out, it's because it's not meant to work out. Or maybe you're meant to go back to it, like down the line. It's sort of like they say about relationships, if you love them, let them go. And there was just, I kind of had just an unfortunate incident that was, we've all seen the movie. You don't do business with friends and family. And I was young, and but I had put so much into it that I was just so lost when it all happened. And I tried, like, I went and got a bachelor's of science in business, and, then I started working at this tech company, but that really didn't work out because office politics, like you have in your bio on your website, that's one of the things that really resonated with me, because I was like, yeah, I think once you've owned your own company and like been in charge of delivering a product and selling a product, you're sitting in, like a conference room for 20 minutes and nothing has gotten done. And you're just itching because it's like, guys, really? Like, is this what we're supposed to do? Like, and I couldn't do it. Like, 'cause I also couldn't keep my mouth shut. So I'd be the one to be like, hey, can we, speed this up? Like, I have things to do. Like, I'm pretty sure we're here to sell a product. Anyway, so, I tried the corporate thing. It really just did not work. And then, I finally had to move home back to New Jersey, which was kind of crazy because I swore to myself that I would never move back home. Has nothing to do with my relationship with my parents. I love them to death. We're very, very close. I consider them my best friends at this point. But I just, it's like once you establish that independence, to have to kind of swallow your pride. And like, of course, they welcomed me back with open arms, but I'm coming back with like my tail between my legs being like, oh, what am I even doing with my life? Like, where is this supposed to go? Because I've tried everything. Okay. What else is there? And that's when snowboarding entered the picture. It's something that I've done my whole life. I had never been out to Colorado. I gravitated back towards it when I was living at home, and I would wait for the nor'easters to come in on the East Coast, because then you can go up to Vermont and, ski in, ski out, very inexpensive, but they're brilliant storms. So like, it's totally worth it. And it really, so this idea of like living in a ski town kind of just started brewing in my head, and was really only an idea in my psychologist's office until it wasn't.
Yeah, right.
And I think the really like the defining moment of moving out here, it happened so quickly, because for about 3 years before I moved out here, I had this recurring nightmare, every night, where I was reaching out for my friends and like they were just too far ahead of me, and really they were like, they were all, achieving really great things in their careers. And I've never really been a jealous person, you know what I mean? So like, I was very happy for them, but I was drowning, and it was like living in purgatory, because when I was awake, it was a nightmare. And when I went to sleep, it was a nightmare. And 3 years, I was just numb. This is also a testament to therapy. And I feel like I really have to throw that in there, because even though talking about mental health has become pretty normal, I still feel like there's a stigma, and people have a hard time just admitting that they need help.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to distinguish that, like, while your friends and family absolutely should be there to support you, they're not your therapist. And there's a reason that industry exists. And so that's what I did. I went to a psychiatrist. I was like, look, I'm losing it. So I need your help, and I'll do whatever you say, and of course that was a little bit of a rocky, bumpy ride in itself, but the combination of just, the friends who did support me, my family, and therapy, and just hanging on, there were definitely times where I didn't know that I wanted to be there anymore. And I think another important thing to say about that is what I found helpful, and it was still hard, but it was extremely helpful, is sometimes you aren't enough. Like, you aren't enough for yourself. And so if you make someone or something more important than yourself, it's a very easy way to stop you from making a very foolish decision. And so I did that. I did whatever I had to do. I think I told you, my uncle, unfortunately, he went down that road, and I saw what it did to my mom. So there was no way.
So he took his life. So, yeah. What was the context behind? Like, did you get a bit of an understanding what was going on in his life?
Yeah. So basically, it was pretty tragic what happened on my mom's side. She had 2 brothers, and the youngest brother, he got leukemia. And the thing was, by the time, like, I think the way the story goes is like, he passed out while he was at work, went into the hospital. They couldn't find anything. So, they like sent him home with penicillin, you know what I mean? And a year later, he was like stage 4 leukemia, and basically just in the hospital waiting to die, which he eventually did, of a MRSA infection. But, super easy to get those when you're that sick. My Uncle Fraser, he was like deathly afraid of hospitals, and he started getting sick. And I think the only way that we can make sense of this is that he saw what happened to Richard. So like, and that was pretty, just tough. And he probably didn't want to put his family through it, and he definitely didn't want to go through it. And so, yeah, he just went into the woods, took some painkillers, brought a knife, and that was it.
Wow. And how did that impact your mom and the rest of the family?
So my mom was obviously devastated. This, like, losing her 2 brothers happened within like a year. And I mean, they were young guys. Like, this happened when I was in high school. So we're talking 2000, what, like 2003, 2002, somewhere around then. And my mom was devastated. But it was really my granny, who got the brunt of it because her brain, she was already a little bit like going into dementia. This sent her full on. So we brought her over here and she was all right for a bit, but then, we had issues with her pension. She had to go back. And that was tough. But what was kind of crazy about that is I know that a big part of the reason that my mom was so upset from what happened is because she wasn't there when they passed away. And when her mom passed away, my granny, she was there. And when she came back, you would have thought that she would have been, so devastated. And you could just tell that she had this weight lifted off her shoulders, that she got the closure that she needed. It was a very crazy time in our family's life. But I didn't help. I'm like, man, I just, typical actor story. Like I'm just doing cocaine, like off the rails. I mean, I was 5'10", weighed 120 pounds. I'm 175 pounds right now. Like, it's so, yeah, I had developed a pretty serious habit, but I was a very insecure kid. I was bullied like crazy. And
at what time did with the thing around your uncle, like what did you learn from that? Like the lesson, like I think off camera you were talking about saying, if how that played out has been the reason why you haven't gone down the path of suicide. And
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because I saw what it did to my mom, and it's just, the thing is with suicide. So somebody asked me this question not long ago just to get my opinion on it. And I have no problem talking about this stuff. I think it's healthy, I think if anything, we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
But someone asked me, they were like, do you think suicide is selfish? And it's kind of a crazy question. And I don't think it's selfish. I think anybody that takes their life, they don't feel like they have any other options. If they did, then that's the road that they would go down. I was bullied mercilessly in school to the point where, I would draw pictures in my notebook of how I wanted to kill the people that were bullying me.
How old were you when it first started?
I'm going to say third grade is probably,
yeah.
It started a little bit first grade, second grade, but nothing crazy. I was just very misunderstood.
Yeah. Were you doing the child acting at that point, or was that later on?
How old are you when you're in first and second grade? I'm like,
second grade, you would have been about 7.
So third grade. Yeah, third grade. Because I was 8 years old.
8 years old.
Acting.
Yeah.
And I think it was, maybe a year before I started professionally acting. And
but up until that point, like your childhood, loving, fun, great pet, like great family, great parents. Yeah.
Yep. No issues. And it just, when I know, looking back, hindsight being 2020, it's very easy for me to say, well, I wasn't religious. We weren't brought up with any religion. That was a strict thing with my mom, with my dad, because my dad's side of the family is totally Jewish, still practicing, and she was like, if we're doing this, we are not raising our kids with any religion. She just had a bad experience with it back in the UK. But put me on track again.
Yeah, so like you're about eight years old when you first started experiencing bullying.
Yes, and I really didn't understand it, but looking back, I had no religion. I didn't play sports, and I was an actor. And that's kind of unique. You know, this was still during a time period where you didn't really have a lot of kids that were doing this, especially at that young of an age. And not only was I doing that, but then, you know, I went professional. So that was just even more reason for them to, you know, misunderstand or not understand at all who I was. And as, you know, people typically do when they don't understand something, they either fear it or they don't like it, you know, in some way. And so, yeah, it resulted in bullying. And I remember like my freshman year in high school, someone like once came into the lunchroom and asked me for money and I didn't have it and whacked me upside the back of the head, but had to have had something like in their hand because it really hurt. But I couldn't do anything about it because if I had tried to do something about it, I just would have gotten hurt even worse, you know? So I was terrified to go to school. Then like I go to camp, I find this amazing girl and we start dating. She was how I got into the whole like New York City, drugs and, you know, going out and clubbing. And somehow, some way that like that I was doing that got back to New Jersey and people just, they stopped, like they stopped bullying me. And I essentially went from like the bottom of the food chain all the way up to the top. And I will never forget laying in my bed holding, I had this little miniature poodle at the time named Biscuit, and he actually lived quite a long time. But anyway, I held him and cried for 2 hours in my bed because I didn't have to be afraid to go to school anymore. You know, like, so there was no way that I was not going to continue doing coke. And the other thing is it made me a straight A student. So while I was this award-winning pianist and this award-winning actor, I would walk into class and I'd literally have teachers be like, Michael, when are you going to start living up to your potential? And I'm like, how is a kid supposed to process that? You know, how does that make any sense? And I feel like we're a little bit better today dealing with that, but it was just, it was like I couldn't do anything right. You know, it didn't matter what I did, you know, and I was bullied in school. And then the problem with being a professional actor was like, you know, normally you think, okay, well, you get bullied in school, but you have all your acting people. Now, yeah, I did, but so many people just became jealous and resentful because I was working and I was doing what they wanted to do. But I'm not a braggart, you know, like I don't lead with my ego. And so again, I really didn't understand like why this was happening. And so I couldn't escape it. And so I was like, fuck this. Like I have this thing, I'm going out. I have this beautiful girlfriend. I'm going out all the time. Like, who cares? I'm done. Like, I am just done. And that lasted until I was 19 years old. And I basically overdosed on my birthday, but I didn't go to the hospital. So yeah, that's another thing is I definitely, there have been a couple different times where I should not have lived and I did. And, so I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe two things. I believe that everything happens for a reason and I believe in karma. And I think that's all you really need to believe in, to do right by others and yourself. And it's led me pretty well, you know, and also not being raised with any religion. I don't have anything against religion. You know, I don't really have anything for it, but I also don't have anything against it. I've been to temple, I've been to church. I find it interesting, you know, but I never had it like shoved down my throat. You know what I mean? So anyway, once I finally got over that, so the gym, that was what took the place of that birthday. I said, okay, no more, I'm done. And I think it was 13 years before I did it again. And then when I did do it again, I was I'm the person that I am now, and I was like, I don't like this anymore. You know what I mean? Like it was just such, and so I have some interesting thoughts on addiction, but like substances are not the problem. They're a symptom of a problem. And I just found it very interesting that like, because another thing is like, most people, when they look at a drug addict, they find it really easy to like admonish them, and because you're doing drugs, nobody thinks, oh, maybe that drug saved that kid's life. Yeah,
it's interesting you bring that up. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of the podcasts or read any of his books, Dr. Gabor Mate. He talks about in his research exactly what you just said then, that what he's found, is that it's the thing that's keeping him alive.
Mm-hmm. Now, of
course, it's so unbearable. It's just they haven't figured out how to shift from that to something healthier.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you can look at a person who's destroying themselves with drugs or alcohol and say they're doing that on purpose. You know what I mean? Like,
they're trying to escape. Trying to escape from reality.
100%. And I think it's also, it's so easy to call someone an addict. I had a friend recently where I was talking to them about this exact thing, and I was just having a very, very candid discussion with them, and I was like, listen, I'm not telling you to drink, but I don't actually think you were ever an alcoholic. Now, this person has been sober for a very, very, very long time, like over a decade. But I was like, I'm pretty sure that what you think is alcoholism, or maybe it is alcoholism, stems from your insecurities. It doesn't really have anything to do with like a difference in your brain chemistry. And I think probably there are people that have a difference in their brain chemistry that make them prone to either drinking or doing drugs. And I completely understand that. I definitely have, interesting things that happen with my own brain chemistry. They just fortunately don't have anything to do with that. But yeah, it just, I think we are so quick to throw people into this idea of you're an addict, you can never do this again, and it's not like I'm encouraging people to do it again, because that, of course, is not healthy either. But you don't have to have this negative perception of yourself just because during one period in your life you needed a substance to get from point A to point B. Because what is taking medication? That's just the safe way of doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you can be addicted to prescription drugs. Like, I think a lot of people, myself included, they're like, it's like getting to the awareness of what is your addiction. Like, so for me, I'm addicted to sugar, and so
it's a tough one.
And so what I mean by addicted to sugar and food is, if I'm having a bad day or a rough day, my normal go-to to take the edge off isn't alcohol, it isn't recreational drugs, it isn't gaming. I love gaming. It's comfort food, or like takeaway food. In that moment, I'm trying to escape from it's the same thing. And I've just gone on a bit of a journey with, due to a little bit of autoimmune issues flaring up from too much stress, where I've gone on the journey of cutting out sugar. I'm 7 weeks, no sugar. I stopped coffees for 2 weeks, no alcohol for 7 weeks. In that time, I've gone to the carnivore diet. Now, anyone listening to this, I'm not a doctor or anything. Go get your proper medical advice. I think where there could be an issue with everyone saying, go do the carnivore diet, with the research I've found, I think it's aligned around your blood type has a big factor if the carnivore diet's going to be good for you or not.
Oh, interesting.
So, and it's just been like people in my life, like my mum, she's blood type A. The more meats she has, she gets like kidney stones, she's got gallbladder stones at the moment. She feels really bad. The more greens and veggies, correct veggies she has, she's way better. For O, they have higher acid in their stomach to break down the meats and so they can do more meats. So I think for people that are blood type O carnivore diet, like go check it out, go get your blood test, go get the correct medical advice. But it's been interesting. So like I've just stripped it right back down to basically one meal a day, fasting 20, 23 hours. And it's been the only thing that's gotten rid of my psoriasis and a couple other like I was getting really bad migraines for 2 weeks. That's all gone. I've lost weight. I'm not trying to, but I've lost like 7 kilos. Yeah. And yeah, same with my wife. She's on it, and yeah, she's lost a lot of weight. And it's just been interesting. You know, some of the days we'll have a bad day, and it's like, I'm on this little diet, which I'm aiming to get to 90 days, so or 12 weeks. I'm 7 weeks in, but it's just been interesting to tune into. I am actually addicted to sugar and food as my go-to thing. So yeah, and then I've even thrown in doing 2-day water fast, like 51 hour, 48 hour ones each week. And it's been really good for my mental health, like just going through that. So yeah, something to check out if someone resonates with that. But yeah, I think everyone's got an addiction, right? Like whether it's the gym, CrossFit, whatever it is, it's like too much of something.
Well, and you know what? You bring up a really good point. So first to hit that, because I'll forget it if I don't, is that you have to enjoy your life. So not all addictions are bad, even if maybe scientifically they are bad for you. Because I'm pretty sure that happiness has been proven to be just as much of like a longevity marker as health, as scientific health, putting in the body. So I think it really is a combination of both. And again, it's like no one should feel ashamed. It's okay to have that one thing. I vape nicotine. Like I don't hide that. You know what I mean? And it's funny that you just brought up what you brought up, because when I went on testosterone at the beginning of last season, my nurse practitioner, amazing woman. And again, like I said before, it's changed my life. She said, you might want to think about cutting out alcohol and going paleo. And I feel like ever since I moved here, I've just been so like into the idea of radical change that I just did it. I think it maybe took me a couple days, and I tried to stop vaping. That didn't happen. But I did cut out alcohol, and I stopped drinking for 8 months, and I went straight paleo, and I was straight paleo for 8 months. And the reason I bring that up is because you said like the carnivore diet got rid of your psoriasis, and I'm pretty sure there are similarities between carnivore and paleo.
Same with keto diet. Yeah.
When I went on it, so I have like the worst acid reflux on the face of the earth. I get it from my dad. It's only gotten worse as I've gotten older. I cannot drink beer anymore. I can't drink white wine, can't drink champagne. If I eat pizza, I have to take an antacid before. Otherwise, like I'll wake up in the middle of the night, literally feeling like it hurts so badly. One time in New York, I passed out in an elevator because of it. Like I couldn't get to the apartment fast enough, and it's completely gone. Like I don't even have antacids in my house. So just, and I'm not the kind of person, and I don't think you are either, to like try to push things on people like, oh, I eat healthy, you need to eat healthy. I'm like, no, but this is a real experience that I have had that has cut out something that could potentially give you esophageal cancer. So like I tell everyone, because I feel like acid reflux, so many people suffer from some form of it. And all I had to do was stop eating, refined sugar. I mean, the way I like to think about it is, sure, do I cheat sometimes? Do I have a burger with a regular bun? Yeah, I don't care that much. And I love food, so I'm not going to deprive myself of that, getting back to the happiness thing that I said. But at the same time, all it really is eating whole foods.
Yeah.
Just eating things that come from the ground or that, animals, like and not with all the sugar and the crap. And once you start doing it, I mean, I don't know if you had this experience, but when I walk into the grocery store, it's just like, seriously? Yeah, cupcakes.
Everywhere.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, chips, soda. I'm like, they make all of the unhealthy stuff so prominent. And, and of course, like the healthier stuff is also more expensive. So it's, you've got a budget for it too.
They're guiding you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just insane. And like that having to, when you start actually reading the labels on the things that you're eating and you're like, holy shit, this has what in it? Like, I can't even pronounce this word. You know what I mean? And it's not a natural food.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, like that, it's 100% like help with my energy, my focus, just all of that stuff, which.
Because that's I think like I've just turned 40 and I think you said you're just about to turn 40. Like I've noticed the testosterone energy levels started dropping off around 35. And so this was another reason doing this diet, because they said, people with, like I said, I've researched more on the blood type side of things as well and putting it together. Blood type O, which I am, is normally gluten intolerant and lactose intolerant.
Yep.
And so just they are the things that make me really tired. I love them. I love bread, sweets, pasta, but they make me really tired. And so since just eliminating them on the 7 weeks, I've got more energy. So it's just, I guess I'm finding ways to biohack myself as I get older so I can snowboard more.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And you do start to look better. You feel better. You grow muscle so much easier. And of course, that's important on the mountain because we're all eating shit at least once a season. And we hopefully don't kill ourselves. But, I was just going to say something about something that you said, and I'd lost it. What was it?
Testosterone?
No, it had something to do with the diet.
Gluten?
Pasta. Gluten-free pasta and tomato sauce with no preservatives. Fantastic. Very easy to make. Not that big of a difference. The only thing I don't like about gluten-free pasta is that if you overcook it, which is very easy to do, it falls apart. But it still tastes delicious. So it's it's not that hard to find replacements for the unhealthy things that you used to eat. And I've had the same experience with dairy too. I switched to almond milk and primarily almond milk. And I just don't have the problems. If I do eat pizza, which I will do once in a while because I absolutely love it and that's never going to change, you take a little Lactaid, whatever, and nothing terrible happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to kill you. But that's the other thing. It's so long as you're eating healthy, the majority of the time, you can eat things like pizza and have a piece of cake and you don't have to feel guilty about it. I was listening to someone earlier today, talking about the food pyramid and how it's such a scam. And I mean, it's just incredible looking at stuff like that. And you're all I have to do is change these things in my diet and I can be a completely different person. I say this to anyone who's having trouble, whether it's anxiety, depression, food stuff, I don't care what it is. Today can be the first day of the rest of your life. You just have to make that choice. That's it. If you want to start going to the gym,
yeah,
go. And it's not easy, but especially with the advent of AI, you don't really have any excuses anymore because you can go to the computer and it's going to give you the right answers, or it's at least going to point you in the right direction. So it's really just a matter of making the choice to do it and then just following through on it. And, it gets easier over time. You stop thinking about it. But I'm like, I wrote down a couple things from my life. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll go back to like where we were at was like, at what point did you give up the acting?
So I gave up acting. I want to say in like my very early 20s. I did 2 different acting studios, acting conservatories, and really enjoyed them. But there was just something about it that I wasn't getting anymore. And also, to be a really good actor, you are constantly on this like emotional precipice. It's a very, very hard place to live. I love working with actors. Like I used to do audition tapes for virtually everyone, young Hollywood that was in New York. And it was always fun for me because like, getting to like pull these things out of them, it's like, I don't actually have to experience it. I just have to get it out of them. But Sanford Meisner, I think, has the best definition of acting, which is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. And so the emotions and the things that you are feeling are very, very real. And it can take you to some very dark places. And I didn't like that. I had enough of it, especially, coming out of like my drug addiction and that was hard enough as is, get very depressed, obviously cocaine, like, yeah, I just didn't feel it anymore. And then once I started producing, which I kind of just fell into by, having the money to put together my friend's show, I really didn't even know what I was doing. But it was, by the end of it, I was like, oh shit, like I just produced something and I absolutely loved it. And I'm pretty sure I love this even more than acting. As an actor, the analogy I use is, as an actor, you're a pawn on a chessboard, and as a producer, you get to play the game. And so I loved just being able to have a hand in everything, and kind of conduct this orchestra of chaos, which is really what it is. You're kind of, I mean, half the time you're playing psychiatrist, but still, a ton of fun. And it sucked. Like when, I mean, yeah, you just don't go into business with friends and family unless you have like some very strict contracts, because there are ways that you can do it where it can be successful. So I don't like to say to never do something, but it just, I had the rug pulled out from under me. That's it. And
this was in your first business that you started? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you start that?
I started that it all happened pretty quickly. So I started that when I want to say I was probably like 22.
Yeah.
And by the time I was 25, everything was going great. I produced I was an associate producer on my first like actual independent feature film that year. And then it was like this time of year came around and everything went to shit. Not only did I have the rug pulled out from under me, but my best friend from high school overdosed and died on Halloween.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was a lot to deal with. I had someone text me earlier today asking me if I'm doing anything tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, no. I'm like, it's probably better if I don't drink, and that doesn't come into play. But it was a long time ago. I mean, yeah, 2010. But yeah, it was a lot to handle at once, and it just, One of the interesting things is that, I had said like all my friends were becoming successful around me, and it was really hard for me to deal with. And so I went to one of my friends at the time and I was like, do you not see that like I am drowning? Like I'm losing it. Like, why isn't anybody trying to help me? Not that I was begging for help, but like no one was, oh, how are you? Like, are you good? And she looked at me and she goes, Michael, you don't look like anything is wrong. And I was like, that was, I guess, sort of the first inclination that I had that maybe I was on the spectrum, to be honest, because I really felt like I was dying inside, and I was so depressed. I don't think I didn't have like a major depressive episode. That happened after I got let go from the first tech company. But I was definitely, I mean, it because it was my best friend and it was a mentor that I've known since I was a kid. Somebody that I trusted. And the thing is, it's like, I get that some people in life, you're just not going to have a great friendship with, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a successful working relationship. And unfortunately, the two of them kind of played off of each other. And I don't even think at times that they knew what how they were playing off of each other. But it was born out of petty feelings, and it wound up really hurting me, like actually like taking food off of my table, like all of the food off of my table. And I really didn't know what to do. And so, yeah, tried school. I did school. At that point, I think it's 16, like I had officially been diagnosed ADHD. And so I was medicated. And so it was easy for me to focus on things. And, one of the things that I read in your bio was how the teacher used to call on you, like when she knew you didn't know the answer, like just to be a dick.
Yeah,
and
catch you out.
What they would do to me is I would get distracted. Like I would be daydreaming and
Yes.
we'd be doing something. And I was in all honors classes and I had no idea why, because all I did was get yelled at for doing things wrong. And I just remember I would ask questions and I would get yelled at because they had already been answered. And it's like, all right, what better way to make a kid shut up and not in a good way, than to make them feel stupid, for asking a relevant question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that probably had a bigger effect on me than I necessarily thought it did. But that was definitely part of the whole, like me just being fed up with everything in life. And, I think the other thing with drugs and alcohol is like people tend to think that it's like, oh, we just love drugs. Like we just want to do drugs. They're so fun. It's like, no, there were very good reasons why I did drugs and why I did not stop and why I did not care what anybody thought. A huge thing that happened was everyone in my acting life. Now, I know that I pushed a lot of people away, so I'm not, taking or placing blame where it shouldn't be. But it's funny how when you're not delivering value to people anymore, how they will just drop you and just leave. And that was also, like to be so young and to just have that happen, it was more reason to just keep doing drugs because they didn't even give a shit about me. So what was the difference, And I felt good. So,
Yeah.
And I was getting straight A's. I was doing everything that everyone had ever asked me to do. And I didn't have to lie about it either. I remember like my mom found it once and she confronted me about it. And I was like, Mom, I just got straight A's and it's because of that. So what do you want from me? I don't know what to tell you. I never stole from them. I never hid it from them. I never hid it from anybody because I never saw the reason to. Yeah, I mean, fortunately, when, and I haven't ever, I mean, I definitely haven't thought about this in a really long time, but fortunately, when all of that stuff went down with my company, and basically I went from making 100 grand a year to zero overnight. My first instinct was not to resort to alcohol and drugs, and in fact, I never did as a result of that. I think I was so let down. Like, I remember two of my friends kind of orchestrated like a lunch between me, and the best friend at the time. And I remember making him wait like until I got my beer, and then I just, made him admit everything. And I already knew it, but I just needed to hear it. And even after that, it was like, I don't even think I was that mad. I was just like, how does somebody do that to you? Like I've had people that deserve to have bad things that happen to them, and I don't do them because it's just, to me, it's wrong. In some way, you put that energy into the world, it's going to come back to you. And I don't need that out there. Life is hard enough. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's odd when you're the kind of person that doesn't have a natural inclination to do those kinds of things. I think it also makes you very vulnerable to them because you assume that the people around you aren't going to do those things either. And that's often not the case. And you're unprepared for it. So it comes out of nowhere. It hits you out of nowhere, and you're left holding the bag being like, what do I do now?
Yeah. And then where'd you go from there? Like once that all unfolded with the business?
So from there, I tried corporate, and it was awful. It was just horrible. In the beginning, it wasn't, because it's like anything. I mean, I'm a good worker at the end of the day, so the work is never the problem. It was never the issue. I remember when I was in advertising technology sales, I was like lowest of the low on the totem pole in sales development, which is essentially you're making the sale and then giving the commission to an account executive, which I had no problem with. You got to pay your dues. But I remember, so in the production industry, in the producing business, whatever, entertainment industry, every movie has what's called a log line, which is 3 sentences or less that describe the entire film. And so I applied that to the cold emails that I was sending. I worked on it really hard, did a bunch of A/B testing. I'm working with like Salesforce and Marketo and, marketing automation software, but CRM software, like, and I love tech. So that was fun for me. And I came up with verbiage that got me an over 10% response rate, which is 10% is like the gold standard in sales. And why I'm like, why did I bring that up? I had done that. Right. So I send a mass email, as I would do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the week. At least when I was doing it, those tended to be the best days, and you could research the best times, whatnot. One of the people that I happened to be sending an email to was a chief marketing officer for McDonald's, and she got right back to me. And she was like, yeah, great, go talk to our digital agency, which means they have to spend the money. And so, I had the CEO coming up to me. I didn't know the CEO, and congratulating me on this. And I was having a great time. Like I really was. By the time I had figured out that, I was having so much fun, because then I'd have account executives come to me to break into accounts. I'd have sales directors come to me to help them break into accounts. And who cares about the commission? I just enjoy the chase and,
Right.
you know, being able to successfully get something done. I'm getting chills just talking about it right now. That had nothing to do with it. Like, I really had fantastic relationships with everyone in the company until my boss decided to hire someone to essentially replace him, and put like a barrier between him and my team. And the problem with that was that my boss was a great guy. I really enjoyed him. We had like a company band, and we actually performed at Spotify and did like a Brooklyn Bowl, which is like a big venue in New York. It was a lot of fun. He wasn't like the greatest sales guy in the world. Okay. Like he was very optimistic, and I really loved his attitude. He was like best friends with the CEO. And so, you know, he had like one of those fake C-suite jobs. But I liked him. Okay. And so he was the kind of guy where it was like, if he came in with an idea that like maybe I didn't see working, I could work my way around that, right, and still be successful at what I was doing. The problem was that when he hired someone to come and manage the team, I couldn't do that anymore, because you had all of the negative aspects of management, not leadership, management. So micromanagement, you know, just poor, uninformed decision making, and you know, that's when I kind of, and this is my fault. I have a very hard time holding my tongue. You know, if I feel like somebody's being treated unfairly, I'm going to be the one to say something. I don't care. The consequences, you know, they are what they are. But so long as I can look at myself in the mirror the next day and still be proud of who I am, that's all that matters. And I kind of knew, like, when I first met this guy, that it wasn't going to work. He did not like me, like, right off the bat. And I tried. I tried to ingratiate myself with him. I don't, like I said before, I don't lead with ego. So that doesn't matter to me. We were all very happy to have someone come in that was focused on our team, because when you have that, like, they can go to bat for you.
Yeah.
Right.
But for the right intentions.
Exactly. And it just wasn't that. Like, it turned out to be, I remember one time I was trying to get in touch with someone from a big bank. And when you're in sales, and I'm sure you've experienced this, people speak to you the way they want to be spoken to, right? So this guy used no punctuation, right? No capital letters, like absolutely nothing, was super short form. Like, it was like he was writing these emails as he was like getting into a taxi, and, you know, just didn't give a shit. But we were having a good conversation. We were still building something. So I had to reach out to him to re-engage, because it had gotten a little bit cold. And at this point, I had to CC my manager on all of the emails that I was sending out. So I BCC'd him on this email. And of course, like, he responds to me. He's like, "Hey, Michael, like, that was a good message, but, you know, in future, maybe you want to write something like this." And it was a fucking novel of like a sales email that you're never going to read. You know what I mean? Like, just like a boilerplate nonsense. Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, great. And, you know, and like, now I got to make this guy feel good about himself. Oh, thank you so much. Like, and of course, the banking guy got back to me on the email that I sent to him. You know what I mean? So it was just one of those cases where, like, I wasn't going to win. But the problem was that I didn't know where to go, because I was only using this job to bridge a gap, or so I thought. So I did go interview at like other advertising sales technology companies, but I didn't really have a passion for the work. I had a passion for sales. That was fun. But but yeah, I didn't have a passion for like the actual industry. In fact, I have always hated advertising. I just find it so annoying, like I think Instagram is the one platform where I actually see advertisements that are relevant to me. Otherwise, I'm like, just keep them. I'd rather pay, than watch these advertisements. But I was ultimately let go. It was retaliatory. It was blatantly retaliatory. Basically, I was put on a PIP, performance improvement plan, which has nothing to do with improvement.
Just a way to exit you out. Go through that process. Make sure that there's no issues if you come back and fight it. Yeah,
it's a HR mechanism.
Yeah. And then so what? So from there, that was when you hit rock bottom. Not long after that in New York.
Well, so that happened. That I had a major depressive episode. I was in bed for 2 weeks. And that was scary. That was when I went into psychiatrist's office. I was like, I don't want to live. And I'm willing, to listen to you and do whatever you say. But yeah, I don't know what else to do. And he helped me. I mean, we didn't have the greatest relationship in the long run, but at that time he helped me. And it was able to bridge the gap when I went to the next corporate gig that I also got let go from illegally again. Different reasons. The next one also, again, and like I promise this is not coming from an ego place, complimented by the CEO on being like the fastest onboarding. I figured, you know what, if I stay out of sales, maybe if I go into customer service, I'll be better off. I just won't have to deal with that, like, the kind of personalities where I could very easily get entangled. And so I was an implementation advisor, basically teaching people how to use the software, which is also fun for me. My dad has always enjoyed teaching people. I have always enjoyed it too. And these were people that some of them didn't even know how to use their computers. So like I actually did have a lot of fun doing this. But again, I was targeted. My manager, she was young. She really didn't have any management experience. When you don't have any management experience and you're trying to manage someone who works autonomously, is good at what they do, I think you find a lot of the time, because I definitely hear this, that's when the micromanagement comes into play, right? Like she once said to me, if you ever feel overwhelmed, let me know. And so I did, because there did come a time when I had to clean up, my sales force and all this stuff. So I let her know. And it was like, she like went out of her way to go after me.
She used it against you.
Yeah. And I was like, but wait, I thought, I just asked for your help, it just made absolutely no sense to me. So they go and put me on another performance improvement plan. Meanwhile, the other guy working at the company, but he had been there a lot longer than me, his sales force was a mess, but it didn't matter because he was there longer than me, right?
Yeah.
So when I get put on this performance improvement plan, I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do, because now I understood, how corporate worked a little bit. And if you have a disability, whether it's something ADHD, it could be anything. If you disclose that to your manager, you cannot be let go without cause. You could be fired for cause, but you can't be let go without cause. And at the time, the psychiatrist that I was seeing, and again, this sort of goes to the point of why we didn't really get along in the long run. He had misdiagnosed me as bipolar type 2, which is essentially a mood disorder. And so I went to my boss and I told her, I was like, I'm bipolar type 2. I have depression, anxiety. And I just wanted to let you know that, knowing that, I wasn't just letting her know that. I was trying to protect myself because I had already fallen so low. I had just come out of a major depressive episode. I'm less than 4 months into this new job and the same thing is happening all over again. And I get called into an office one day with the finance person, the woman that was like in charge of the team. She, again, not the middle manager, but like the one above. And the guy who was the head of the sales department. And she says to me, I think it would just be better if we part ways. And I was like, I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that like you can't do that. You know what I mean? And like, but they did it. And so after that, I was already living at home. And when I went home from that, I think the same day, gosh, some coincidences are not the greatest. I think the same day I had negotiated like a really good rate on a monthly parking spot in a garage. And so of course this had to happen the same day that I'm able to lock that in. But I went home and I just, I went to my dad. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, it would be one thing if I was actually failing at these jobs, but I'm not. I'm failing at the politics. Like, I'm failing miserably at the politics. And I don't know. I can't see it coming. Like I think I told you earlier, that was the company where I left. It was like, I think it was, it may have been earlier. It may have been like I showed up at 8:30 because I had to leave at 4:30 for a psychiatrist appointment. Or it could have been a psychologist appointment too. I was seeing both of them because I just, they do two completely different functions, but together they can be very effective. And I needed all the help I could get. And so, but anytime I would leave early, I would come in early. And I get very tired of having to say hello and goodbye every single day, every time I see someone, because who cares? I like you, but you don't need to hear that from me. Like, it just, and it's, for me, it's very awkward to have to say that all the time. It feels forced.
Like the fakeness part of what comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just not real,
But you would make the effort if you really were interested in wanting to know how someone's day was, or how their week's going, or how they actually are going in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, because I would work so hard, we talked about imposter syndrome, I think, and I suffer from that really terribly. And because I suffer from it so badly, I was always so scared of losing my job that, like, I would just work my ass off to make sure that, like, not only did I have it down, but like it was memorized. Yeah, every single thing I could possibly do, I made sure to check every box. And especially, again, at this point where I'm like really, really struggling mentally and just trying to keep everything afloat. And I'm leaving the office one day. And I do. I must have left at like 4:30, and half an hour later, I get an email from the middle manager of my team saying Michael left at 4:30 and didn't say goodbye to anyone. I thought it was a joke, okay? Because I mean, I am a friendly guy. I think what I was about to say before that I got off track is, like, if you come to me to ask me for my advice, I will spend an hour walking you through whatever it is I'm doing. I have no problem having constructive conversations with people. And in fact, I quite enjoy them. I would say it's probably one of the nicer things about working with me. But, like, I just don't like the meaningless conversations. That's where I'm just a little...
Yeah, all surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also this whole, like, bringing your personal life into work that has become like this new thing. I feel like I should have been like born in the 50s, where people stayed at a company for 20 years. And I would have done very well in that environment, because that was also what made it really hard for me to leave these companies, is I don't know how to do something without giving it 110%. And So it was always an emotional letdown, like to just have someone take it away from me, as if it meant absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And
then was that the catalyst that you were like thinking of just getting out of New York entirely?
I wish it was. There was one more thing. So they let me go from that, right? I go home. I don't know what to do. And I was like, all right, I need to take a step back. So I just, I was going to CrossFit every day. I would go to CrossFit. I would then ride my bike 10 miles and like, I would just do that every single day. And then I would just like sit in my bed and watch movies and try to not think about, it was purgatory. It was awful. And I spent about 3 years that way. Did we talk about like my like nightmare thing?
Yeah. For 3 years, you had that for 3 years in New York. Yeah.
And when I first came here, like the first night that I was here
in Colorado,
I no longer had that nightmare of like the just reaching out to my friends. It just stopped. And that's when I knew that I had made the right move. But before I get there, I had done one other thing. So I had started a computer company and I was just helping baby boomers like take viruses off their computers, Yeah. They're a very silly bunch, to put it lightly. Upgrade their computers, without losing, I understand. Like if, you upgrade your computer, your files all get put in a different place. That's impossible for somebody that's a little bit older, and that's not as tech savvy as we at least grew up with this stuff. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. Again, like your personal touch with the cards. I'm meeting people in person. I'm developing relationships. I'm really enjoying it. And they're really grateful for it. There's nobody that does this anymore. You either have the Apple Store or you have the Genius Bar at, what is it? Best Buy. But otherwise, there are no tech guys anymore. Nobody to like come to your house and just fix something. So I started working with this woman who was going through a very terrible divorce. And she wanted to sell her jewelry in order to finance her divorce. And I have sold plenty of stuff on eBay. So I was like, yeah, sure. I'll help you. And that was kind of the premise of the whole company. Let me know what you need. If I can help you, I will. And if I can't, then, I won't. I had already taken do you remember the FBI ransomware, like cyber epidemic, cyber attack? I took that off of my dad's computer. I have no idea how I did it. It took me 3 days, but like I was able to get that off of his computer and preserve all of his files. Everything was good. So I'm like, all right, maybe I should help other people with this. So anyway, yeah, I start working with this woman, and to make a long story short, I knew she had some mental health issues, and this is another thing, I knew she had some mental health issues, but you never want to assume that you're going to get hurt as a result of that. But I did. When she ran out of money, she accused me of stealing her jewelry so that she could collect on the insurance, and I'm already living at home. I then have to deal with 2 cops, 2 detectives showing up at my front door and interrogating me. And that was the night that right after they left, I went to my mom and I was like, you got to take me to the psych ward. Like, I got to go to the hospital because I don't want to live. I just don't want to live. And again, what happened with my uncle, I'm still not going to do that. But like,
the thoughts are there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, the more prominent than ever. And this was the lowest low. This was the rock bottom that I didn't know existed. But it did. And so my mom drives me to the hospital in New York, and I go in as I'm being like taken in, like through intake. They diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder and kicked me out the other door. I'm like, I can't win. I can't. I have to call my mom up. She's got to turn around, come back to New York, get me. We go back to New Jersey. But that was the night that when I got home, I just Googled whatever the top 10 mountains in the U.S. were. I applied to every single one of them, not realizing, that having a college degree, I would get every job that I got. And I just planned to leave that fall, October 30th of 2018. I moved out here, and it was the best decision I could have ever made for myself, because when I first moved here, like, I didn't really move here to live. I was like, I thought my life was over, and I was like, if I'm actually gonna die, like, if this is, going south, I'm gonna do it in a beautiful place. Not that New Jersey isn't beautiful, but I spent my entire life on the East Coast, and I was just done. I mean, New York had been telling me to get out of there for long enough already, and I'd never even been to Colorado. So, like, I literally landed in Denver, took a shuttle straight up to Breckenridge, had never been to altitude. I'm like, why is it so hard to breathe? But I get here and it's just dumping snow, and like, and then I have the first night where I no longer have the nightmares, and progressively, like, in the beginning, I had no drive, I had no motivation, I had nothing. I had really lost everything, but it's very difficult to find good employees here. So when I did good work, I was appreciated for it. It didn't really have anything to do with the politics. And so I was given the opportunity to, like, work up, and progressively just kind of get everything back. And by some sheer miracle, I did, and continued on. And now I like to say my bank account doesn't necessarily agree, but mentally I'm even better than I was, at my best when I first lost my company in New York. And I love my life here. And I've got this amazing dog somewhere who I'm very surprised she hasn't bothered me. But it's just, I never thought that this is where I would end up. And it saved my life. And, like, that's my whole point about, life is going to throw you curveballs. If you just take them and run with it, you can always find opportunity in things. You can always turn a negative into a positive. It's just about how you choose to look at it and how you choose to act on it. And I didn't even know Breckenridge existed before I moved here, but it's been incredible. And, like, I'm just so, so grateful for everyone and everything. And I really don't have any, as much as those were terrible things that I went through in my life, I don't really hold anything against anybody. I think when you do that, it takes up a lot of space, and you're only doing yourself a disservice. And the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, everybody's human. Everybody's flawed. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and who am I to judge someone that just happened to make a mistake against me? All I know is that I have hope, and I feel possibility for the future. And, I started my podcast last year, and I went to a programming boot camp, and I, learned how to code, and I've been building a rideshare app, and hopefully I'll get that out at some point. But, who knew that I would get all of this back? And it's just a testament to not giving up.
Showing up each day despite what life dishes up, throws at you.
And sometimes it's really, really hard to do that. Like, sometimes it's really hard to do that for yourself. And
what's been the difference in Colorado, in Breckenridge, when those days show up?
Like the bad days?
Yeah. Like, what has been what have you, is it just like, I'm going to go snowboarding?
Oh, yeah. I mean, snowboarding, I never knew, like, so I moved here, but I didn't realize that I love winter, that it's actually my favorite season, that I would take a snow day over a sunny day any day of the week, that I will take, the beach at A Basin over, St. Bart's any day of the week. It just the feeling that I get when I'm out here, the peace that I have, like I've that's probably the biggest thing, is that this Breckenridge has enabled me to find peace, but also still continue like my entrepreneurial pursuits. And so I still, I found that drive again, and it's all thanks to snowboarding. Like this, who knew? I feel like when we grow up, there are things that you do when you're a kid and you just take them for granted, because it's like, I started snowboarding when I was 4 years old. Yeah. All right. Ski. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I switched to snowboarding when I was 10, but it was just something that we did, so like I never really put much stock in it. It was just, okay. I ski, I snowboard, fine. To see that like that it turned into something that actually legitimately saved my life and like gave me a whole new purpose, and a whole new way to be and to live and to enjoy. And it's
what are all the things like if someone's listening that hasn't skied or snowboarded before, but like they're like, oh, it's giving them hope, like what are the little things? Is it something that's outside? Is it something in nature? Is it a combination of, those essence?
Yes, I think it's all of that. When I first came here, it was interesting. Like this summer, I had to figure out what to do. Right, I didn't really know. I think we were talking about this before. Like I found fishing, and now I love fishing. I love camping. I love hiking. These are all things I never really did growing up as a kid. I know a lot of people do them, but I just didn't. We just weren't a family like that. And to be out in nature and to be so close to these things, it just, it really just changed who I am. It changed what I love. A lot of people say to me, like, isn't it lonely out there? And I'm like, well, I am alone a good amount of the time, but I really enjoy being alone. And I'm not really alone because I've got my dog and I have a ton of friends. So,
yeah,
it's like if I want to see someone, then I will go see them. I've got friends here. I've got friends in Denver. It's very, very easy to make friends in a ski town. When you come here to work, like anytime I meet someone who's like just starting, to work here on the chairlift, great. I know I'm going to have a great conversation with them. And I don't love talking to people, but in that circumstance, like I do, because I'm excited for them, because I know what this place has done for me. And so I'm sure they have just as phenomenal story as I do, if not better, about why they came here, and I want it on my podcast.
Yeah.
But no, it's just what's kind of interesting, and I don't know if you want to use this, but if you are a felon, if you are an ex-convict, the best place that you could possibly come to is a ski town. Because you can not only will you get a job, but if you're good at that job, you will get promoted. And so I know, like, I'm not an ex-con, so I don't know what that's like personally, but I just know, from things that I see, things that I read, it's extremely difficult to get a job once you have that on your record. I'm telling you, it is not difficult to get a job on a ski mountain, because they need good employees. So
you got to, if you want to start your life again, try things differently, put in the same energy and effort, you'll get the results and be accepted in a community.
You get employee housing. Everybody's given a chance here. No one is discounted. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you're from. And I didn't really expect that. I didn't know Colorado at all. So like to come here and see how diverse it is and like how accepting everyone is of virtually everything was really refreshing. And then, of course it goes beyond that, because people tend to be very kind to one another. Something I was not used to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think, for me, snowboarding, like what that means to me, like I think I said this earlier to you off camera, it's like, it's the one thing that brings me back to childlike play. I'm in the moment. I'm not scrolling on my phone because you got to focus on what's in front of you. You're outside. You're in the fresh air. You're in the mountains. I'm loving what I'm doing in the moment. It's the one thing that, and so like it's like I've got unconditional love going on. And it's a physical exercise. It's like I'm getting all these extra things and I'm not even trying. So I think for anyone that's listening that maybe they do hate the cold, just go try to find something that's like childlike play and fun. Whether that's skateboarding or an electric skateboard or surfing, swimming, stand-up paddleboarding.
it's an incredible way to get back to yourself.
Yeah.
Because like I would look in the mirror and I wouldn't even know who I was looking at. And that was terrifying to me. I lost my entire identity. And I don't wish that on anyone. It's a really scary place to be.
Wow.
But yeah, you just one foot in front of the other. I was watching something. I can't remember who said this. They were going through a really terrible time in their life, and they were like, you know what? The one thing you do is you just do one good thing every day. Just keep doing one good thing every day, one foot in front of the other, and eventually you start doing more than one good thing every day, and you start rebuilding. And
momentum kicks in. Yeah, cool. So we did something a little bit different before we started this. You got to experience the unlocked from within one-on-one experience. How has that helped your mental health?
Well, I really didn't know what to expect at first. And when, you started talking about the breathing exercises, it really took me back to like my acting conservatory days where we did a lot of breathing exercises and chakra work and things like that. And I loved it because it's the way that you think about how I want to say this. You're able to, using your lead, you tap into the really like sensitive parts of yourself that you don't look at very much, if at all. I think it's one of those things where unless you've been through a good deal of therapy, you probably don't even know that they're there. The experiences from childhood that inform who we are today, understanding different traumas that affect who we are today, and using those things in order to empower yourself. It really is like an exercise in reclaiming power. From all areas of your life. And yeah, I'm very interested to watch what this podcast looks like, what we're doing right now, because the thing is, I was so open by the end of it that I have trouble remembering things from, having dealt with the major depressive stuff because that actually does have an effect on the brain in the long term. Although I don't like to play victim. It's not my thing, but yeah, it's hard for me to look back on this and remember all that we did because I was just in such like this spiritual state, by the time we were finished, and had access to all these things that I normally would have walls up. I think we naturally do that.
Yeah.
Even if we don't know it, and it breaks them all down, and it does it in a safe environment, and it just the fact that I could do this in the comfort of my own home, is kind of crazy. Like it's Friday where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Australia and you're in the US. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
It is. I mean, and the fact that the sound is going to be great and the video is going to be great. Yeah. It just, technology. I love it. But the practice of the meditation, I know how important it is. It's something my brother actually, I know he's done a lot of meditation. For me, it's a little bit more difficult, and I think it's because I'm always like go, 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 go.
If you've got ADHD or ADD, I feel like it is harder just doing guided meditation. Like for me, like I said, I've got undiagnosed ADD. And I found like, yeah, like one of my mentors many years ago, he said, look, the one thing you take away from this workshop out of everything over the 3 days is just create a meditation practice of doing it daily. And I'm like, okay. And so like for the first 3 years, I'd do it, but it felt like a chore. And then I found breath work. And for some reason, the breath work with my ADD seemed to just stop all the noise in my head.
It makes it way easier.
And now I can circle back to guided meditations, and I don't know, it's just opened up other parts in my brain where I've got the concentration now. Yeah.
So let me flip this script a little bit. How has your experience been, implementing the meditation? Like, I guess, what has it done for you in terms of what you see through other people? Like, it's such a fascinating thing to me. But I do feel like it was extremely helpful.
Yeah, like I said, like obviously off camera, like it's helped me clear a trauma I didn't even know I was aware of that was linked to my money blockage that I was aware of, but got to the origin of it. And then that's cleared, a blockage on a subconscious level. And I think the modality, so I've created this modality. I've just found, because it's worked for me, there's people similar to me, and if they give it a go, it may work for them. So I think that's what's great about having all these different modalities out there is like, just give it a go. If it doesn't work, that doesn't mean they're all not going to work, but it's just trying to find the one thing that creates a safe place for the person that trusts to be vulnerable at a subconscious level and provide the tools to move on from whatever that was or that thing. Because like a lot of people don't want to go into their past if it was such a traumatic experience, right?
Sure.
So it's been interesting. Yeah, all the different business owners that have gone through it or people that aren't business owners. Like I've had Army vets do it. Lots of people with ADD or ADHD or autistic. And it's just interesting to see every one of them get down to that level of tapping into the safe space and being able to heal something that they didn't think could heal, or even just find peace in an area that they didn't think they could find peace in.
Yeah, it's like I said before, even though therapy is such a widely accepted thing now, it's still, I find, can be very, very challenging to get people to go. And so to have this in addition, I'm sure that there are people out there that like, while traditional therapy would do nothing for them, this could do everything for them.
That's the interesting part is like what I've found is like, yeah, I think what's great about this interview we've done is how you've experienced going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. There's a lot of men, especially men, I think that would think, and this is my interpretation, my perspective, but if I go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, there's something wrong with me. So I'm not going to go. Whereas
like it's a weakness.
The weakness thing. Whereas it's like, maybe I give this thing a go because then there's not something wrong with me, which means I'm opened up and I haven't got my walls up or the boundaries to try it. I think that's the difference, And so I think at the end of the day, whatever works for someone, like go try it. Like if you don't want to go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, then check out a coach or do something spiritual or breath work or go see, like I don't like yoga. You like yoga. For me, my ADD side kicks in.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's just finding the modality that can get you down to that level too. And, and I think the core thing we should remind everyone is it's not like go and do it once and you'll be fixed and the rest of your life's going to be fixed.
Yeah,
like,
no.
This is a journey for the rest of your life of continually doing the work, the growth in personal development, the therapy, like there's a really good podcast out there. I don't know if you know, like Lewis Howes, School of Greatness. When he's in a relationship, he's obviously married now, but like each past relationship that he was in, like he'd always have a relationship coach, even if there was nothing wrong. He just found his life was better when he kept doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense, and of course, not everyone's going to resonate with the same type of practice, and people will feel more comfortable with one thing or the other. I think the point is, it's like I said to someone the other day, I'm like, imagine you got into a car accident, right? And but the only way that you could get to work was drive. Eventually, you're going to have to get back in the driver's seat, And so whether it's traditional therapy, it's in conjunction with that, it's also, and this has been something that I have really had to work on. It's not about the destination. It has to be about the journey. So like I said before, like my bank account might not agree with how successful I feel right now. That's okay. Like I can still enjoy my life. I can still feel good about myself and where I am and what I'm doing. And I think it's really, really important that you just take stock of what you do have and appreciate it. Because if you don't, I feel like people get to the destination and they're like, wait, but I thought I was going to feel this way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like, and I've done this in the past. Like I think we all do it on some level where it's like, I'll only be happy when I get that job. I'll only be happy when I get that house. I'll only be happy when I get my holiday or when I'm on holiday or, So, yeah.
To add to that, like being in an environment that is very like highly non-judgmental is super helpful with, recovery. And I think you kind of find that in any like sport, hobby, people don't care about what's in your bank account. That has nothing to do with it. And so, to your point about what you were saying before about like just the idea of childlike play and getting back to yourself. And I think that's the point is like to not lose that piece. And to give it the time and the attention that it needs. If you want to live a fulfilling life, it's up to you, but it's your choice. And like I said before, you can choose. Today can be the first day of the rest of your life if you want it to be. And I have to tell myself that a lot, but it's okay too, I still have bad days. They're just not as bad, but
yeah,
I'm always going to have bad days. It's not like those go away, they just change. Hopefully they're different.
And hopefully you got better tools, coping mechanisms to deal with it, the awareness of when it's coming up or, and that's the key.
One of the things, yes. I mean, one of the things I've tried to tell people is like, it doesn't, how do I say this? When you work on it, right? Like when you develop the tools to deal with it, it feels like life's getting easier, but it's not actually getting easier. You're just getting better at dealing with the problem. And so what that does is it enables you to deal with new problems and new issues. And as long as you're moving forward, that's the point.
Yeah.
Everybody says you judge yourself by the people that you surround yourself with. Well, as long as everyone's constantly moving forward, you're taking care of yourself. And I think that's another thing. Like you can't, I may have said this before, but trying to rely on friends and family for therapeutic stuff it doesn't work in the long run.
No, because they can only come from their perspective, right?
And then you wind up projecting. You know, like if you're relying on someone for your emotional stability, it's one thing if you're paying a therapist or paying you, you know, like there's a reason that that relationship exists. But if you try to put that on a parent or a friend, it's a very easy way to get into a toxic situation. It's very, very hard to get out of.
Yeah, look, I think I think some really good advice. People listening, I try to live by it because I think it just makes sense. Common sense is like, you can love your friends and family with advice, but if they're not where you want to be or they're not, further down the road, are you striving for that life? If not, it's just thank you for the feedback, thank you for that, and go find that mentor or that therapist or whoever that is living the life you actually want to live. Because everyone's got a different life, everyone's got a different journey. But like, I would only take advice from someone that's actually gone and done it or is further along. And so that's sort of my hope for this podcast interview is like, I feel like when something resonates with someone through sharing a personal story, it's because you go, I've lived parts of those lives or I've connected with that person. So you're going to be more open to wanting to know more. But if you go to someone that has never lived a day in your life or experiencing something similar, you're not going to be open to any of it because you're like, but you don't know what it feels like. And so I think that's what's the special, my thing that I love about podcasting is trying to share more of people's stories and the adversities and challenges that they've come up. Because I feel like if someone hears it, it'll give them hope. And then hopefully they can take action from that.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, ultimately, I'm like, a lot of these stories I've told so many times just through all the clients that I have. And I'm like, but I want to be able to share them with everyone, like not just these siloed interactions.
Yeah.
Not that I mind doing that, but it's beautiful to have a platform like where, you can go and you don't have to feel alone. I think it's funny that people think I'm lonely here because I think in New York, I was probably lonelier, and it just says a lot about what feels like home.
Yeah.
And just to cap this off, there are always three things that I tell someone who is struggling. I ask them three questions. Are you going to the gym? Are you eating healthy? Are you in therapy? Those three things, that's what if you're having a really hard time in your life, you must turn to at least one of them. Just one of them. You don't have to do them all. I know they're daunting. But if you turn to at least one of them, you're taking that step forward.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's very simple. Like I'm trying to make it simple because it shouldn't be. We all need a little help sometimes. That's it.
Yeah.
And like if it's something that I say can help someone, like those things have really, it's I couldn't live without them.
Awesome. Well, Michael, it's been, a pleasure to have you on the show and sharing your story. Where can anyone that's listening, where can anyone connect with you, check out your podcast? What's best? Is it Instagram? What's your handles?
Yeah, I would say probably Instagram and TikTok, although Instagram I tend to be a little more active. So you can always go to michael.schiffman, michael.schiffman, or Certified Jerry Podcast. It's funny because a lot of people don't know what a Jerry is. So a Jerry is like an inexperienced or like bad skier or someone with like a huge gap between their helmet and their goggles, and it's self-deprecating. I'm the certified Jerry, but really the reason I called it that is because I just want people to feel comfortable coming on, platforming themselves, and it's just a fun way for me.
Having some fun. Yeah, it's a bit like the brand, like no friends on powder days is a joke. Unfortunately, some people think we're being irresponsible, but it's only the minor few. And I tell everyone,
No.
check out the bio, our About Us section. You know, we snowboard, ski with friends.
The amount of compliments that I get when I wear the NFPD stuff, like everyone says the same thing. Oh my God, no friends on powder day. That's hysterical. I hear it behind me, and they're not even trying to talk to me, you know? But I had someone come up to me and ask me if I made the jacket myself.
Yeah, cool.
I'm
Awesome.
like, but yes, it's exactly like that. And I think that's also a part of life that you can't let go. You have to find the fun, and you have to be able to make fun of yourself and make fun of your friends, and like just let go, you know. Life is too short, you know what I mean?
Awesome. Again, Michael, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Take care, and we'll do it again one time. Thanks you.
It's like a plan, brother.
If anyone would love to experience a unlocked from within one-on-one session with myself, they're perfect for getting over the fear of public speaking. If you've got a limiting belief or a blockage and you're just looking for some clarity, there'll be a link also in the show notes for that. Again, I hope you found value in today's episode, and if you could please leave us, a comment, like, subscribe. It really does help the show. Again, thanks for listening.